Hana stood at the entrance of the Galactic Academy and tried not to feel small. The station stretched above her like a metal mountain, full of lights and movement. Aliens walked past her in groups, talking and laughing. They were tall, much taller than her. Some had scales that gleamed like armor. Others had extra arms or glowing eyes. None of them looked human. She took a breath and walked inside. The Academy was famous across the galaxy. Every important species sent their best young people here to learn. They trained to become explorers, fighters, and leaders. Earth had just been discovered a few months ago. Hana was the first human to ever step through these doors. Nobody seemed impressed. In the Great Hall, thousands of students gathered for orientation. Hana found a spot near the back and listened as the instructors explained the rules. The Academy would test them, push them. Only the strong would graduate. A massive reptilian alien stood at the front. His name was Corvan, and he looked like he could break stone with his bare hands. Scars covered his scaled face. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like thunder. "You will be divided into squads," Corvan announced. "You will train together, survive together, or fail together." Names appeared on the screens. Hana searched for hers. There, Squad 7. She made her way to the meeting point. Her squad was already there. 5 aliens stood in a circle, sizing each other up. They all stopped talking when they saw her approach. A giant Vrex warrior looked down at her. He was covered in dark red scales and stood almost 8 feet tall. His name tag read Toran. "This is a joke," Toran said. He didn't even try to hide his disgust. "They paired us with a human?" A 4-armed insect-like alien clicked her mandibles. This was Civix, a Quelar scout. Her eyes were multifaceted like gems, cold and calculating. "I heard humans are prey species, soft, weak. Earth animals used to hunt humans for food," another squad member added with a laugh. Hana said nothing. She just stood there meeting their stares with calm eyes. Corvan approached their squad. He barely glanced at Hana. "Your first mission starts tomorrow. 3 days in the Wilderness Dome. Retrieve a beacon and return. Simple. Try not to die." He walked away before anyone could ask questions. That night, Hana lay in her assigned quarters. The bed was too big for her. Everything in the academy was built for larger species. She could hear laughter through the walls. Probably other squads getting to know each other, building trust. Nobody from Squad 7 had spoken to her after the meeting. The next morning came fast. The squad gathered at the entrance to the Wilderness Dome. It was a massive biodome that simulated different alien environments: mountains, forests, rivers, and predators. Lots of predators. Corvan handed them basic supplies. Rations for 3 days, water purifiers, basic camping gear, and training weapons that could stun small animals, but not much else. "The beacon is 40 miles north," Corvan said. "Good luck." The dome entrance sealed behind them with a heavy clang. Toran immediately took charge. "We move fast. No breaks unless necessary. And you," he pointed at Hana, "stay in the middle. Don't slow us down." They hiked for hours through rough terrain. Hana kept pace easily, her breathing steady. The other aliens were stronger and faster, but they moved in bursts of energy. Hana just kept going, one foot after another. When they stopped for a break, Civic studied her with those strange insect eyes. "How are you not tired? You're so fragile-looking." "Humans are good at walking," Hana replied simply. Toran snorted. "Walking? What a terrifying skill." That evening, they made camp in a small clearing. The squad built a fire and shared rations. Hana got the smallest portion. She noticed but didn't complain. Around the fire, the squad members began sharing stories. Toran talked about his first hunt on his homeworld. He had killed a beast twice his size using only his claws and teeth. The others were impressed. Civix described how her people worked as a hive mind during combat, moving as one perfect unit. Individual strength means nothing when you can think as 1,000. A levitating alien named Vex talked about his telepathic abilities. "I can feel your emotions right now. All of you except..." He paused, looking at Hana with confusion. "You're noisy. Your thoughts are scattered everywhere." "Human minds are like that," Hana said with a small shrug. "Messy," Vex concluded, sounding disappointed. Eventually, someone asked Hana the question she'd been waiting for. "What do humans hunt?" The squad leaned in, curious despite their mockery. "We chase animals until they collapse from exhaustion," Hana explained. "It's called persistence hunting. We follow them for hours, sometimes days, until they can't run anymore. Then we catch them. Then Toran burst out laughing. You're not even real predators. You just walk after things until they give up? Civix clicked her mandibles in amusement. Any species that must outlast their food instead of overpowering it is barely a predator at all. The whole squad joined in the laughter. Even Vex, who usually stayed quiet, seemed amused. Hana didn't argue. She just ate her small portion of food and stared into the fire. Day 2 started early. They were making good progress toward the beacon. The terrain got rougher, but the squad pushed forward confidently. Toran led them through a narrow canyon with high walls on both sides. Hana stopped walking. Something felt wrong. Keep moving, Toran ordered without looking back. Wait, Hana said. Listen. I don't take orders from prey, Toran snapped. Then they heard it. A sound like grinding metal mixed with an animal's growl. Deep, hungry, close. The creature came around the corner ahead of them. It was massive, easily 12 feet tall. 6 legs supported a body covered in armored plates. Its head was mostly mouth filled with rows of teeth like daggers. Claws scraped against the stone as it moved. Rendax, Civix whispered, her voice tight with fear. Those aren't supposed to be in this sector. The Rendax's eyes locked onto the squad. It roared, and the sound shook dust from the canyon walls. Battle formation, Toran shouted, but the Rendax was faster. It lunged forward with terrifying speed. One squad member didn't move fast enough. The creature's claws swept through the air. The alien went down screaming, then silent. Civix tried to fight. Her 4 arms moved in perfect coordination, striking with her training weapon. The Rendax barely noticed. One massive paw swatted her aside. She hit the canyon wall hard. When she fell to the ground, 3 of her 4 arms hung at wrong angles. Retreat, Toran yelled. The squad ran. The Rendax chased. Another squad member fell, caught from behind. The creature was playing with them, enjoying the hunt. They scrambled out of the canyon and into open terrain. Their communicator had been destroyed in the chaos. Their supplies were scattered. 2 squad members were dead. Civix was badly injured. Toran had a deep gash across his ribs, and the Rendax was still hunting them. They could hear it in the distance, roaring, tracking their scent. It was only a matter of time before it found them again. Toran, for the first time since Hana had met him, looked scared. We can't fight it. Our weapons are useless. It's too fast to outrun. The squad huddled together, exhausted and terrified. Civix was barely conscious. The remaining members looked at each other with desperate eyes. They all knew the truth. They were going to die here. Hana stepped forward. Her voice was calm, steady, completely out of place in the moment of panic. Let me handle this. Toran stared at her like she'd gone insane. Handle it? You? You're a prey species. I can't overpower it, Hana interrupted. But I don't need to. Just trust me, please. The desperation in Toran's eyes deepened. They had no other options. No backup was coming. The Rendax would find them soon. What do you need? He finally asked. Hana looked at each squad member in turn. I need you to do exactly what I say when I say it. No arguing. No hesitation. Can you do that? Slowly, one by one, they nodded. Hana turned toward the sound of the approaching Rendax. Her jaw set with determination. Then let's show this thing what a human predator can do. Hana moved quickly but deliberately, while Toran pressed a cloth against his bleeding side and the others stood frozen in fear. She was already assessing the situation with clear eyes. First, we mask our scent, she said, kneeling beside a patch of mud near a small stream. Everyone cover yourselves in this, especially over any wounds. Toran looked at the mud with disgust. I'm a Vrex warrior. I don't hide in— You're a dead warrior if you don't listen, Hana cut him off. Her tone wasn't harsh, just factual. That thing hunts by scent. We make it harder to track us, we live longer. The desperation won out. Toran began covering himself in mud. The others followed. While they worked, Hana gathered fallen branches and torn fabric from their destroyed packs. She created false trails leading in 3 different directions, dragging the materials through the brush to leave scent markers away from their actual path. You know tracking? Civix asked through gritted teeth. Her injured arms were bound tight against her body. Humans have been hunters for millions of years, Hana replied. We learned to track, and we learned how to confuse things that tracked us. In the distance, the Rendax roared again. Closer this time, now we move, Hana said. Not fast, steady, save your energy. It's faster than us, Torin protested. Running slow is suicide. Running fast is suicide, Hana corrected. That thing is built for speed. Pure muscle and power. But that kind of body burns energy quickly. If we sprint, we'll tire out before it does. If we maintain a steady pace, we can last longer than it can. Torin stared at her. That's your plan? Walk away from a killing machine? Yes, Hana said simply. Trust me, they started moving. Hana led them on a specific path, not the fastest route, but one that went through rough terrain. Rocks, uneven ground, thick vegetation, places where the Rendax's massive body would be a disadvantage. After 20 minutes, they heard it behind them, the sound of 6 heavy legs thundering across the ground. The Rendax had picked up their trail. It's coming! One squad member panicked. Keep the pace, Hana ordered. Don't run. Just keep moving. Every instinct screamed at them to sprint, but they followed Hana's instructions. They maintained a steady jog through the difficult terrain. The Rendax burst into view behind them. It was terrifying, all teeth and claws and hunger. It charged with that explosive speed now, Hana shouted. Through the narrow gap! She led them between 2 large boulders. The space was tight, barely wide enough for them. Perfect for smaller bodies. The Rendax tried to follow but had to slow down, its bulk scraping against the stones. They gained distance, not much, but enough. The Rendax roared in frustration and found a way around. It charged again. Hana led them across a stream, through the water where their scent would disperse. Then up a steep slope covered in loose stones. The Rendax's 6 legs struggled with the unstable ground. Its weight worked against it, another roar. More frustration. But it kept coming, it's not stopping, Torin gasped. He was strong, but even he was breathing hard. It will, Hana promised. Just keep moving. An hour passed. Then too, the pattern repeated. The Rendax would charge, close the distance with its superior speed. Hana would lead them through terrain that forced it to slow down. Rocky areas, dense forest, across water, up slopes they never stopped moving, never rested for more than a minute. The pace was steady, almost mechanical, and slowly something changed. The Rendax's charges became less frequent. Its roars sounded different, less triumphant and more frustrated. When it caught sight of them, it didn't immediately pursue. It would stop, panting, watching them with those predatory eyes. It's slowing down, Civic said in wonder. Despite her injuries, despite the pain, she had kept moving. Now she saw what Hana had predicted. Its body is designed for explosive power, Hana explained as they walked. Short, devastating hunts. But those muscles need a lot of energy. They're burning through its reserves. Torin looked at Hana with new eyes. And humans? Humans evolved to move for days without stopping, Hana replied. Our bodies are efficient. We cool through sweat, which works better than panting. Our tendons store and release energy with each step. Our minds can stay focused even when we're tired. She pointed back at the Rendax, which was following at a much slower pace now. That creature is stronger than me, faster than me, more dangerous than me, but it can't outlast me. 3 hours in, the Rendax was struggling. Its breathing was heavy, labored. It would chase for a few minutes, then need to rest for longer periods. Its movements were less coordinated. The squad was tired too, but they were still functional. They could still move, still think, still follow Hana's directions. We're persistence hunting it, Torin said suddenly. The realization hit him like a physical force. You're doing to it what humans did to prey on Earth. Hana nodded. On Earth, humans would chase antelope for hours across the savannah. The antelope was faster, could sprint away easily, but it couldn't keep sprinting forever. Humans just walked, and walked, and walked. Eventually, the antelope would collapse from heat exhaustion. Then humans would walk up and finish the hunt. Civic searched for words. That's terrifying. That's survival, Hana corrected. As night began to fall, the Rendax was barely keeping up. It would rest for 10 minutes, gather its strength, chase for 5, then need to rest again. Its massive muscles were depleted. Its body temperature was too high. It couldn't cool down effectively, but it was still dangerous. A cornered predator with nothing to lose was perhaps the most dangerous thing of all. We need to finish this, Hana said, on our terms in a place we choose. She had been mapping the terrain in her head throughout the chase. She'd noticed a ravine about a mile ahead, narrow with steep sides, perfect for what she needed. We lead it there, she pointed. The narrow space will limit its movement. We'll have high ground. We can use rocks, makeshift weapons. We end this without getting close enough for it to fight back. You've been planning this the whole time, Toran said. It wasn't a question. I've been planning since the moment I saw it, Hana admitted. Persistence hunting isn't just about outlasting prey. It's about making every part of the hunt work in your favor. They adjusted their route, leading the exhausted Rendax toward the ravine. The creature followed, driven by instinct and hunger, too tired to recognize the trap. When they reached the ravine, Hana positioned everyone carefully, Toran at the far end making noise to draw attention. The others on the high ground with rocks and anything they could throw. Civix, despite her injuries, took a position where she could signal warnings. Hana herself stood at the entrance to the ravine. The Rendax appeared through the trees. When it saw Hana standing alone, something flickered in its eyes. One more chance, one vulnerable target. It gathered its remaining strength and charged. Hana waited until the last possible moment, then darted into the ravine. The Rendax followed, its bulk filling the narrow space. Exactly as planned, the squad executed the plan perfectly. Rocks rained down from above. Toran created noise and confusion from behind. The Rendax tried to turn to climb out, but its exhausted muscles couldn't generate the power needed. For 2 more hours, they kept up the pressure, not attacking directly, just preventing it from resting, harassing it, confusing it, exhausting it further. Finally, inevitably, the Rendax collapsed. Not from wounds, from complete and total exhaustion. Its massive body simply had nothing left. It lay in the ravine, breathing rapidly, unable to stand. Hana approached carefully. She picked up a sharp rock. The others watched as she ended the creature's suffering quickly and respectfully. When it was done, silence fell over the ravine. The squad stood there covered in mud and exhausted, staring at the fallen apex predator. We just hunted a Rendax, Toran said quietly, using nothing but patience and endurance. Hana wiped the rock clean. My species hunted creatures much bigger than this with even more basic tools. We hunted mammoths, cave bears, things that could kill us with one strike. She looked at each squad member. Humans aren't the strongest species. We're not the fastest. We don't have armor or extra arms or telepathy. But we have something else. We never give up. We adapt, we think. We outlast, Civix spoke, her voice full of respect. You're a different kind of apex predator. Yes, Hana agreed. And now you understand why. They made their way out of the ravine as dawn broke on their 4th day. When they finally reached the academy checkpoint, the instructors were shocked to see them alive. Corvin, the scarred Vrex instructor, listened to their report with growing disbelief. You persistence hunted a Rendax? She did, Toran corrected, gesturing to Hana. We just followed. Word spread through the academy like fire. The small human who everyone mocked had done the impossible. She had hunted an apex predator using nothing but time, terrain, and the ancient gifts of her species. The mockery stopped that day. The medical bay was busy with activity. Civix lay on a specialized bed while doctors worked on her damaged arms. Toran sat nearby, his ribs wrapped tight with bandages. The other squad members received treatment for exhaustion and minor injuries. Hana had the fewest injuries. Some blisters on her feet. Muscle fatigue. Nothing serious. She sat quietly while a medical drone scanned her, and the alien doctors looked at the results with confusion. Your stress markers are remarkably low, one doctor said. For someone who just survived a Rendax encounter, your body barely registered the event as traumatic. Humans are built for this, Hana replied simply. Long chases. Extended stress. Our bodies handle it well. News of the hunt spread faster than Hana expected. By the time she left the medical bay, students filled the corridors. They stared as she walked past. Some with respect. Some with curiosity. A few with suspicion. Toran found her in the dining hall that evening. He carried his tray to her table and sat down without asking. Other squad members followed. For the first time since meeting her, they chose to sit with her. I want to learn, Toran said directly. Teach me how humans think. How you plan. How you turn disadvantages into advantages. Hana looked surprised. You're a warrior. One of the best in your class. Why would you want to learn from me? Because you beat a Rendax, Toran replied. You use strategy over strength. Patience over power. That's something my people never taught me. Civix joined them, her arms in healing casts. I've been analyzing what you did. Every decision, every path choice. It was brilliant tactical thinking, but nothing like what we learn here. That's because it's not tactical thinking, Hana explained. Not the way you mean it. It's survival thinking. Humans spent millions of years as both predator and prey. We learned to think like both at the same time. She picked at her food. When you're hunting something bigger and stronger than you, you can't fight fair. You have to make the environment fight for you, tire it out, confuse it, make it waste energy while you conserve yours. Other students began gathering around their table, listening. Word had spread about the persistence hunt. Everyone wanted to understand how a human had achieved the impossible. An instructor approached, not Corvin, but a smaller alien with blue skin and large eyes. Her name was Instructor Yuri, and she taught survival tactics. Hana, Yuri said formally, the Academy Council requests your presence. They want a full demonstration of human hunting techniques. 3 days later, Hana stood in front of the entire academy. Thousands of students filled the Great Hall. Instructors lined the walls. Even the Academy's Grand Arbiter attended, an ancient being called Keeper Jin who rarely left his chambers. Hana had prepared a presentation. She showed videos from Earth, humans chasing animals across plains, hunters tracking prey for days, ancient humans bringing down massive creatures with simple weapons. The audience watched in silence. Humans are endurance predators, Hana explained. On Earth, very few predators hunt this way. Most are ambush hunters or pack hunters. They use speed and strength. But humans are different. She displayed a chart showing human physiology. We have several adaptations that make us perfect for persistence hunting. We can sweat across our entire body, cooling us efficiently. We can breathe independently of our running rhythm. Unlike four-legged animals, our tendons act like springs, storing and releasing energy. We can carry water and food, extending our range. But most importantly, Hana continued, we can keep going when we're tired. Human brains can override exhaustion signals that would stop other species. We can push through pain, through doubt, through fear. We're stubborn, a student called out, but doesn't that make you weaker? Having to hunt that way because you lack strength? Hana smiled. It makes us different, not weaker. On Earth, persistence hunting was so effective that we hunted many large animals to extinction. Not because we were stronger, but because they couldn't escape us. Once we started chasing, we never stopped. The presentation continued. She showed human military tactics, retreat and regroup strategies, attritional warfare, guerrilla tactics, all based on the same principle: outlast your enemy. Humans learned early that you don't need to win every battle, Hana said. You just need to win the last one. We lose, retreat, learn, adapt, and come back, over and over until we succeed. When she finished, the hall erupted in discussion. Some species, like the Vrex, seemed uncomfortable with the concept. Honor demanded direct confrontation. Retreat was shameful, but others understood immediately. The tactical value was undeniable. Keeper Jin, the Grand Arbiter, rose to speak. His voice was ancient and carried weight. In my long life, I have seen many forms of predation: strength, speed, venom, stealth. But I have never seen a species weaponize patience itself. He looked at Hana with his ancient eyes. Humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy, but they may be the most dangerous, because they cannot be discouraged. They cannot be outlasted. They adapt faster than others can respond. The hall fell silent at this assessment. That night, Hana received an unexpected visit. Corvin, the scarred instructor who had dismissed her on the first day, stood at her door. May I enter? He asked, his tone respectful now. Hana nodded and he stepped inside. For a moment, the massive Vrex warrior said nothing. Then he spoke quietly. I mocked you. I thought humans were weak. I apologize. You didn't know, Hana replied. How could you? We just met the galaxy. I should have known better, Corvin said. I have fought many battles, won most of them, but I have also retreated when necessary. My people call it cowardice. You call it strategy. He sat down heavily. I read about human military history after your presentation. Your species has lost countless battles but still won wars. You've been conquered and then outlasted your conquerors. You faced extinction and survived. That's not weakness, no, Hana agreed. That's endurance. Corvin looked at his scarred hands. I want to implement human training methods in my courses. Endurance running, long-duration exercises, mental fortitude training. Would you help? Over the following weeks, the academy changed. It started small. Toran began running every morning, building his endurance. He couldn't match human levels yet, but he improved. Civics, once her arms healed, started studying human tactical retreats and adaptation strategies. More students joined. They called it the Persistence Program. Classes focused on long-duration challenges, multi-day exercises with minimal supplies, mental training to push through exhaustion. The traditional warrior types resisted at first. They saw it as beneath them, but then results started showing. Students who completed the persistence training performed better in complex scenarios. They made better decisions under stress. They didn't panic when situations went wrong. Hana became an unofficial instructor. She taught classes on endurance, on mental fortitude, on turning disadvantages into advantages. Her students weren't learning to be human. They were learning what humans had discovered through evolution, but not everyone was happy with this change. 3 students approached Hana one evening. They were from the dominant species, the ones used to being at the top. A Vrex named Dane, a Quelar named Thrix, and a Nomathi called Vex. "You've made quite a name for yourself," Dane said. His tone was not friendly. "I just shared what I know," Hana replied carefully. "You've disrupted the natural order," Thrix added, her 4 arms crossed. Students question traditional methods now. They doubt their own species' superiority. Vex, the telepathic Nomathi, floated closer. "And we find that unacceptable." Hana felt tension rise but kept her voice calm. "Knowledge shouldn't threaten anyone. I'm not claiming humans are better. Just different. But you're changing how others see us," Dane growled. "The strong should lead. The fast should win. The intelligent should guide. That's how the galaxy works. Or," Hana suggested quietly, "maybe the galaxy is big enough for many kinds of strength." The 3 students exchanged glances. Something passed between them, an unspoken agreement. "We're issuing a formal challenge," Thrix announced. "You claim humans are apex predators. Prove it. Face us in the trial of 3 dominions." Hana knew of this trial. It was an ancient academy tradition. 3 challenges testing different abilities: combat, intelligence, survival. Students rarely requested it because it was brutal. "And if I refuse?" Hana asked. "Then everyone will know the truth," Vex said, his telepathic voice cold. "Humans talk well, but when tested properly, they fail." Hana looked at each of them. She could refuse, walk away, but she knew what that would mean. Everything she'd taught, everything her squad had learned, would be dismissed. "I accept," she said simply. The announcement spread through the academy instantly. The trial of 3 dominions. The small human against 3 of the academy's elite. Most students thought Hana was brave but foolish. Toran found her that night. "You don't have to do this. They're trying to humiliate you." "I know," Hana replied, "but they've given me something valuable." "What?" "A chance to show what humans really are," Hana said. "Not in a survival situation where we have no choice, but in a direct challenge where we choose to compete." She smiled slightly. "They think they're proving we're inferior, but they're actually giving me the perfect opportunity to show exactly what an apex predator looks like." The trial of 3 dominions would begin in 2 weeks. The entire academy buzzed with anticipation. Betting pool started. Most bets were against Hana. She spent those 2 weeks differently than everyone expected. She didn't train harder in combat. She didn't practice puzzles. Instead, she watched. She observed Dane during his training sessions. The massive Rex warrior was impressive. He moved with raw power, ending practice matches in seconds. His record was perfect. 43 victories, 0 defeats. He had never fought a match lasting longer than 5 minutes. Hana noted this detail carefully. She studied Thrix in the academic centers. The Quelar was brilliant, her 4 arms working multiple problems simultaneously. She could process information faster than the instructors could present it. Her hive mind connection allowed her to consult with other Quelar across the galaxy, giving her access to vast knowledge. But Hana noticed something. Thrix solved problems in predictable patterns. Efficient patterns, yes, but predictable. She watched Vex during meditation sessions. The Nomathi floated silently, his telepathic abilities reading the emotions of everyone nearby. He could sense fear, doubt, confidence. He used this information to predict behavior, to stay ahead of opponents. Hana felt his attention on her multiple times. Each time she thought about random things, old memories, earth songs, mathematical equations, anything to keep her mind chaotic and unreadable. Toran noticed her approach. "You're not preparing yourself. You're preparing to face them. Same thing, Hana replied. Humans don't win by being better at what others do best. We win by changing what better means. The day of the trial arrived. The Academy's main arena was packed. Thousands of students filled the seats. Instructors stood along the walls. Even species from nearby systems sent observers. The Grand Arbiter, Keeper Jin, presided over the trial. His ancient voice echoed through the arena. The trial of 3 dominions will test combat ability, mental capacity, and survival instinct. 3 challenges, 3 chances to prove superiority. Dane, Thrix, and Vex stood on one side of the arena floor. Hana stood alone on the other. The size difference was dramatic. She looked tiny compared to them. The first challenge, Keeper Jin announced, the Arena of Strength. Single combat until incapacitation or surrender. Dain stepped forward, grinning confidently. I'll make this quick, human. But Hana raised her hand. I have one condition. According to the rules, I can request specific parameters. Keeper Jin nodded. State your condition. The match continues for 2 hours or until incapacitation. Whichever comes first. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Standard matches lasted until one fighter couldn't continue, usually minutes. 2 hours was absurdly long. Dane laughed. You think lasting longer changes anything? Fine, 2 hours. I'll enjoy breaking you slowly. The match began. Dane charged immediately using his massive strength. His fists moved like hammers. Any single hit would end the fight. Hana didn't try to block. She moved, ducked, rolled, used her smaller size and lower center of gravity. Every attack missed by inches. 5 minutes in, Dane was still confident. 10 minutes in, he was frustrated. 15 minutes in, he was breathing harder. The audience began to understand. This was the Rendax hunt again. Hana wasn't trying to win quickly. She was making Dane work. 20 minutes in, Dane's movements were slower. His species was built for explosive power, not sustained combat. Every massive punch burned energy. Every missed attack wasted strength. Hana kept moving, staying just out of reach. Occasionally, she landed light strikes that didn't hurt him but kept him engaged, kept him attacking. 30 minutes in, sweat covered Dane's scales. 40 minutes in, his breathing was labored. 50 minutes in, his attacks were clumsy. Hana's endurance training, her human physiology, kept her going. She was tired but still functional. Her breathing was controlled. Her movements remained efficient. At 1 hour, Dane was struggling. At 90 minutes, he could barely lift his arms. Only then did Hana shift to offense. She used technique over power, leverage over strength. She swept his legs and he fell hard. When he tried to rise, she used his own exhausted body weight against him, pinning him with basic grappling. Yield, she said quietly. Dane, humiliated and exhausted, had no choice. I yield. The arena erupted in shock. The undefeated Vrex warrior had been beaten by a human half his size. Keeper Jin's voice cut through the noise. Victory to Hana. The first challenge is complete. Toran was cheering loudly. Civics clicked her mandibles in approval. Even students who had bet against Hana couldn't help but be impressed. Dane was helped from the arena. As medics attended him, he looked at Hana with new understanding. You never intended to fight me. You intended to outlast me. Yes, Hana agreed. In a 5-minute fight, you win every time. In a 2-hour fight, I win every time, so I made it a 2-hour fight. 3 days later, the second challenge began. The Maze of Mind. It was a virtual reality simulation, a complex puzzle environment with multiple objectives. Participants had to navigate, solve problems, and compete against AI opponents. Thrix was excited. This was her domain. Intelligence, processing speed, tactical thinking. Qualities Quilar possessed in abundance. Again, Hana requested modified parameters. Instead of separate attempts, both would compete simultaneously in connected maze instances. Their progress would be visible to all observers. The simulation began. Thrix immediately demonstrated her brilliance. Her forearms worked the controls with blinding speed. She split her attention across multiple objectives, processing information streams that would overwhelm most species. She was beautiful to watch, like a perfect machine. Hana's approach was different, simpler. She focused on one objective at a time, moving through the maze methodically. She ignored several complex challenges entirely. What is she doing? Someone in the audience asked. She's falling behind. But then observers noticed something strange. The AI opponents were designed to challenge multitasking geniuses. They responded to complex strategies with complex counter-strategies. Hana's simple, linear approach confused the AI. Her choices were unpredictable, sometimes illogical. She would backtrack for no apparent reason. She would ignore valuable objectives to pursue minor ones. This was human thinking. Not optimal, but creative. Not perfect, but adaptable. Meanwhile, Vex was using his telepathic abilities as planned. He pressed against both competitors' minds. Against Thrix, his telepathy was effective. He could read her organized thoughts, predict her next moves. Against Hana, his telepathy hit chaos. Human minds were messy. They thought in multiple directions simultaneously. They held contradictory ideas. They let emotions mix with logic. Vex found himself confused rather than insightful. Thrix completed more objectives. Her score was higher, but Hana reached the primary goal first, finding a route through the maze that technically shouldn't have existed, but that she discovered through creative exploitation of the simulation's physics. The judges debated. Keeper Jin made the final ruling. The primary objective was to escape the maze. Hana achieved this first through innovative problem-solving. Victory to Hana! Thrix was stunned. She had never lost an intelligence challenge. But I completed more tasks. I demonstrated superior mental capacity. You demonstrated superior processing, Keeper Jin corrected. She demonstrated superior adaptation. Both have value, but the challenge required completion, not perfection. 2 victories. Hana had done what seemed impossible. The final challenge remained. The Hunt of Hunters would take place in 1 week. It was the most prestigious trial, the one that would determine the final outcome. 30 students would participate, all simultaneously predator and prey. Last one untagged wins. Vex approached Hana before the trial. The Namathi floated before her, his telepathic voice serious. I underestimated you, he said. Both challenges. You don't think like other species. You're unpredictable. Thank you, Hana replied. It wasn't a compliment, Vex continued. In the hunt, that won't matter. 30 competitors, most are elite students. They all want to prove themselves by tagging you. You'll be hunted by everyone. I know, Hana said simply. And you're not worried? Hana smiled slightly. Humans have been hunted by everything. On Earth we were prey for thousands of years. Big cats, wolves, bears, but we survived. We learned. And eventually we became the hunters. She met Vex's telepathic gaze. Being hunted doesn't scare me. It's what humans have always done best, survive. The day of the hunt arrived. The wilderness arena was massive, spanning miles of diverse terrain. 30 competitors entered, each wearing a tracker. The rules were simple. Tag others while avoiding being tagged. Each tag reduced a competitor's points. Last one standing wins. The competitors scattered immediately when the hunt began. Some formed packs. Some took high ground. Some set traps. Hana did something different. She found a water source and stayed near it. Observers watching through monitoring drones were confused. Why isn't she moving? She's an easy target. But Hana understood something they didn't. In a 4-hour competition with 30 people, the opening moves didn't determine the winner. What mattered was who remained dangerous at the end. She conserved her energy, watching the chaos unfold, learning who was aggressive and who was tactical. 2 hours into the hunt, the field had thinned dramatically. 15 competitors remained. Hana had been tagged twice by opportunistic hunters, reducing her score, but she hadn't seemed bothered. She just kept moving, observing, learning. Now she began to hunt. Her targets weren't the strongest competitors. She went after those who had burned massive energy in the first 2 hours. She tracked them by predicting where exhausted competitors would go. Toward water, toward easy terrain, toward shelter. She found a Vrex warrior resting by a stream. He was powerful but tired. She tagged him before he realized she was there. He roared in frustration, but the tag was valid. She found a Killar scout who had been sprinting between objectives. The scout's 4 arms were trembling from fatigue. Hana tagged her easily. One by one, Hana eliminated competitors who had spent their energy too early. She was methodical, patient, using her preserved stamina as a weapon. With 1 hour remaining, 5 competitors were left. Hana, Dane, who had returned to prove himself, Vex the telepathic Nomathi, and 2 others who had played smart, conservative games. Dane had learned from his arena defeat. He wasn't burning energy recklessly anymore, but 3 hours of hunting had still taken its toll. He was powerful, but tired. Vex had been using telepathic stealth to avoid detection, but maintaining that level of mental control for hours was draining him. Hana had been preparing for this moment. She knew where Dane would go. Exhausted people returned to water sources. She reached the stream first and waited. When Dane arrived, desperate and tired, she tagged him from behind. His roar of frustration echoed across the arena. Not again. Again, Hana confirmed. Now it was down to 3. Hana, Vex, and one other competitor who was eliminated minutes later by Vex's telepathic prediction of his movements. The final confrontation. Hana and Vex. The Nomathi was still hidden telepathically, nearly impossible to detect. But Hana had been watching him all competition. She noticed a pattern. Telepathic stealth required concentration. Difficult terrain broke that concentration. She moved toward the roughest part of the arena. Rocky, uneven ground that required constant attention to navigate safely. If Vex was there, the terrain would disrupt his stealth. If he wasn't, she could predict he was in easier terrain and adjust. She was right. As she approached the rocky area, she caught a flicker of movement. Vex adjusting position to avoid the difficult ground, his concentration breaking for just a moment. Hana pressed forward, maintaining pursuit. She didn't try to find him directly. She just kept moving through challenging terrain, forcing him to either follow and risk breaking stealth, or retreat to easier ground and reveal his pattern. 20 minutes of steady pressure. Vex was mentally exhausted from maintaining telepathy for over 3 hours. The difficult terrain was breaking his focus repeatedly. Finally, his stealth failed completely. Hana saw him clearly and closed the distance, her human endurance against his mental fatigue. She made the tag with 5 minutes left in the competition. The arena erupted in cheers. Hana had won the Hunt of Hunters. 3 challenges, 3 victories. The crowd went silent as Vex floated down before her. The Nomathi's telepathic voice resonated across the arena. I challenged you because I feared what I could not understand. Human minds are chaos to us. They resist telepathy. Hold contradictory thoughts. Process emotions and logic simultaneously. He paused, then did something shocking. He bowed. But I watched you defeat every challenge through adaptation. You won because you understood your opponents better than they understood themselves. This is its own form of intelligence. Dane approached next, his massive form still showing signs of exhaustion. You have defeated me twice. Not through strength, but by making strength irrelevant. This is a kind of power I never knew existed. He extended his clawed hand. I request permission to train with humans, to learn this persistence, this endurance, this stubbornness that makes you unstoppable. Thrix came forward with her forearms. You think differently than any species I have studied. My people calculate optimal solutions. Yours create new possibilities. I was wrong to mock this as inferior. Keeper Jin's ancient voice filled the arena. Hana of Earth has demonstrated what many species forgot. Apex predators take many forms. Strength is one path, speed is another, intelligence another still. He looked at the gathered students. But adaptation may be the most dangerous quality of all. To change strategies, to turn disadvantages into advantages, to never surrender regardless of circumstances. This is what makes a true apex predator. The Grand Arbiter made his ruling. Humanity's trial membership is granted full status. Earth will receive 10 academy positions next cycle. The curriculum will be revised to include human endurance training and adaptive thinking. The arena erupted in celebration. Students who had mocked Hana now chanted her name. But Hana felt overwhelmed. She had come here representing her entire species. The weight of that suddenly felt very real. Toran found her afterward, away from the crowds. You did it. You changed everything. I just showed them what humans are, Hana replied quietly. But what happens now? When more humans arrive? When the galaxy sees not just me, but all of us? Then they'll learn what I learned, Toran said. That different doesn't mean inferior. That there are many ways to be strong. Over the following weeks, the academy transformed. Students requested human-style training. Long-distance running became popular. Endurance challenges were added to the curriculum. More importantly, attitudes changed. The rigid hierarchy based on strength and speed began to crack. Students realized that success took many forms. Civics wrote a paper on human tactical flexibility that became required reading. She analyzed how humans balanced emotion and logic, creating strategies that were both practical and unpredictable. Even Vex began teaching a course on mental resistance and cognitive chaos as a defense against telepathy. He based it on studying human thought patterns. Dane, the proud warrior who first mocked Hana, became her most dedicated student. He trained his endurance, learning to fight longer battles instead of relying on overwhelming force. "My people celebrate the quick victory," Dane told Hana during a training session, "but you taught me that the warrior still standing at the end wins, even if they lost every battle before the last one." 3 months after the trial, Hana received a message from Earth. The second group of humans was arriving. 10 students, as promised. She felt nervous. She had set expectations. What if the others couldn't live up to them? But when the transport arrived and the new students emerged, Hana saw something that calmed her fears. They were diverse, different ages, backgrounds, abilities. A scientist, a soldier, an engineer, a teacher, each bringing their own human perspective. One of them, a young man named Minho, approached her with a grin. "You're famous back home. Everyone on Earth knows about the human who hunted a Rendax and won the trial of 3 dominions." "I just did what humans do," Hana replied. "Survived, adapted, kept going." "Exactly," Minho agreed. "And now we're here to show them that you weren't special. You were just human, and being human is special enough." The new students integrated quickly. Each brought their own skills, but they all shared human traits. Creativity, stubbornness, the ability to make do with limited resources. The refusal to quit. The Academy had expected one exceptional human. Instead, they got something more challenging. They got typical humans. And typical humans were remarkable in ordinary ways. 6 months later, Hana was officially made an instructor. Her course, Adaptive Survival Strategies, became one of the most popular at the Academy. On the first day, she stood before a class of 50 students from a dozen species. They looked at her with respect now, not mockery. "This course isn't about making you human," Hana began. "It's about teaching you what humans learned through evolution: endurance, adaptability, creative problem-solving. Mental fortitude." She paused. "You will fail exercises in this course. You will get tired. You will want to quit. And that's when the real learning begins. Because humans don't win by being perfect. We win by getting back up after we fall." A Vrex student raised his hand. "Instructor Hana, is it true that humans hunted animals for days without stopping?" "Yes," Hana confirmed. "We would track prey across vast distances. When it ran, we walked. When it rested, we approached. Eventually, it had no energy left. That's persistence hunting." "It seems cruel," a Kilar student observed. "It's survival," Hana replied, "and it taught humanity something important. You don't need to be the biggest or the strongest. You just need to outlast your challenges. In hunting, in war, in life." She smiled at her students. "That's what I'm teaching you. Not to be human, but to understand that success isn't always about immediate victory. Sometimes it's about being the one still standing when everyone else has fallen." Years passed. Hana's influence spread beyond the Academy. Human training methods were adopted by military forces across multiple species. Human tactical thinking influenced diplomatic strategies. Human stubborn optimism, the refusal to accept defeat, became something other species admired rather than mocked. Toran eventually graduated and returned to his home world. He introduced endurance training to Vrex military academies. Warriors who once valued only strength learned to value persistence. Civics became an ambassador, using human-inspired flexible thinking to solve disputes.